Hi, this is Dodger, and you're watching my show.
Three, two, one, ready, go!
Guys, I've been deep in that Stardew Valley hole. Oh my goodness. And it's actually been really interesting because I've had lots of friends text me or Skype me about Stardew Valley, and it seems like I'm the only person who went really ham on farming and mining. Like, pretty much everybody else that I know is like, oh yeah, so I became like super best friends with Shane within like the first season, and I'm like, when did you have time? When did you have time to do that when there was so much mining to do? But yeah, that game is fantastic. And also, the subject of our first topic, you get it. So, we all love mods, right? We all love when people can do something really creative and modify a game that we love. So of course, when Stardew Valley came out, somebody was like, what if I just replaced all of the animals with Pokemon? POKEDEW Valley is the name of the mod, and it turns your dog into a Growlithe, your cat into a Meowth. It turns your cows into a Pokemon that I am not familiar with at all, but like when you go into the mines, the bats are Zubats, and the little like moles that pop up and try to like bite at your ankles turn into Diglets, and it's just so silly. I was looking at lots of pictures of it and I was like, oh my gosh, that's actually really adorable. I can't wait to see what other sorts of mods show up for this game. And it blows my mind that one dude made it. Do you know that? One dude made Stardew Valley. So the fact that he worked for years on this game and it kept growing and growing and growing, and normally with a game where you have like a set plan and then it keeps expanding, a lot of times you lose vision, right? This game doesn't feel like it lost vision. And that has really brought about this very intense community of people that I'm so grateful for, because every time I'm stuck, I'm like, wiki, and it pops up. Somebody's figured it out, right? Everything that you could be confused about, somebody's already figured it out. So it's gonna be really cool to see how this community winds up modding the game in other ways and coming up with more and more cool stuff for the game. And I don't know, honestly, but I hope that the creator is excited about things like that. You know, I always feel like modding communities can really help the longevity of a game. You know, can really make it so that a game that somebody's experienced in full can be completely new and fresh. And when a developer looks at a mod and says, that's really cool, I think that's awesome. A new Hearthstone expansion was announced called Whispers of the Old Gods, and it will add 134 new cards. All of the cards are going to be themed around the old gods of Warcraft lore, so a lot of lore fans out there are probably going to be really excited to see what sort of things they touch on. There is a trailer, which I can link you to in the description. Whispers of the Old Gods takes everything familiar in Hearthstone and turns it inside out. Under the sway of the four old gods of Azeroth, familiar friends have been corrupted, new monstrosities have appeared, and unrest spreads throughout the tavern with every turn. As the old gods and their crazed followers join you in battle, there's no telling how much havoc you can wreak with their unique abilities and game-changing powers. By the same token, you'll want to pay great attention to each play you make, for it could well be your last in the newest Hearthstone expansion. It's interesting seeing the people who really care about the lore, who are like, well, obviously, they're not going to make a card set in Azeroth that's about the old gods, because the old gods are like an actual legit thing that's ruined their lives. So they're not making those, but maybe the old gods have affected the card game without the actual card makers knowing. And it's just like, we don't need a story. We don't need it, but I mean, sure. It will be coming to all of the platforms, and I said that I would link you to the trailer. I will also link you to the blog post. Whoa! Speaking of Blizzard, you know, you might be able to say some negative things about Blizzard, but my goodness, are they dedicated to their games, even years later. I say this because Diablo 2 has just been patched for the first time in 5 years. You would think with Diablo 3 out that they would say, alright, well, Diablo 2, you know, it's a thing. We patched it in 2011. It's fine, right? Like, we want everybody to focus on Diablo 3. If they're not satisfied with Diablo 2, they can come on over to the new game. Who cares? But no, No. Blizzard is like, oh man, we really need to come up with a patch to make it so that Diablo 2 will run on newer operating systems. So that's what they've done. This is patch 1.14. It makes it so that the game will run on newer operating systems. It fixes a lot of glitches that are associated with that. It's also focusing a lot on cheaters and trying to minimize that within the game. And I think a lot of people were very surprised, like very taken aback by this, the fact that they would still have people dedicated to working on Diablo 2, because they've even said, you know, like, yes, this is a new patch and it's been a long time coming, at least from our perspective, but we're not even done. You know, there are still things that we would like to fix with the game because there's such a core, wonderful community of people who still play Diablo 2. And we don't want them to feel like they have to stop playing their favorite game. We want to, you know, continue to help them play it with the next generation of systems, which is so cool. And apparently in November, they were hiring for a senior software engineer focusing on classic games, which has made a lot of people wonder whether or not they're planning on remastering some oldies like base StarCraft or Diablo 2, games like that, which would be very cool and might be another reason to make sure that Diablo 2 in its current form can run well on systems to help, you know, speed up that process. I know quite a few people who would be very jazzed to see a remastered Diablo 2. So if that's what you guys wind up doing, awesome. I will say though, Diablo 3 has gotten better and better and better. So if you haven't tried out Diablo 3 just like because, but you love Diablo 2, I don't know, try it out. I think Diablo 3 is a good game. But I do think that it's awesome that Blizzard is still continuing to maintain their older games. So you might know that not too long ago, Riot Games bought Radiant Entertainment. It is their first acquisition, which has caused quite a bit of eyebrow raising, but has also caused some kind of sad things. So Radiant Entertainment is heavily associated with the guys who put on EVO, and they love fighting games. They're like very much people who are part of the fighting game community, and they've been working on a game called Rising Thunder. It's currently been in closed alpha. It's a game where it's sort of taking a fighting game and paring it down quite a bit. It's turning abilities into like cooldowns, MOBA style sort of, and they're all robots, right? Like they're all super cool looking robots. The game looked fantastic. But unfortunately now they've announced that since they've been acquired by Riot, they are closing Rising Thunder. They're not going to make it anymore. Stonehearth, the game that they kickstarted, is going to be finished because, you know, they have an obligation at this point, I think. But yeah, Rising Thunder is totally shut down, which sucks. All we know is that the people who were working on Rising Thunder are going to be working on a completely new game. We can only assume it's for Riot. Some people have speculated that maybe Rising Thunder is going to be repurposed, like they're going to take kind of the basic idea of Rising Thunder and turn it into a sort of League of Legends fighting game of some sort. Because let's be real, okay, you don't buy, like this is their first acquisition, right? Like they chose this specifically. And you don't buy a company that focuses on fighting games unless you plan on making a fighting game, right? Like these people know what they're talking about when it comes to the fighting game community. And if Riot has thought to themselves ever, like, what if we made a fighting game, but all of the fighters were characters from League of Legends? Like, obviously you would go for a company that could help you out with a fighting game, right? A lot of people are really bummed out. If you are in the alpha, don't worry. They're not closing it down for rule until the 18th, so you have a few days left to be able to play it. But yeah, it's not gonna be anymore. It's gonna dissipate into the video game universe. I just think the idea was cool, right? Like the idea of taking a game type that typically requires a lot of dexterity and paring it down quite a bit and just saying, look, you focus on timing, right? You're gonna focus on when to attack and what attack to use when. And I hope that whatever game they're working on now is going to still keep those ideas, or at the very least that in the future they're allowed to sort of sit down and make that game that they wanted to make. Especially since this one was so close to going into beta, like it's sad. Speaking of games being canceled, oh my gosh, my heart broke today. My heart broke today when Daybreak put out a blog post saying that Everquest Next is canceled. You guys remember Everquest Next? A lot of people don't. A lot of people totally forgot that was even a thing. One of the reasons being that Daybreak went a little bit silent. Like they sort of just stopped talking to us about the game, which was really, really frustrating. The landmark community, like, just kind of slowly died. It was just, like, so sad, but, you know, I was one of those people who, when people would complain about it, I'd be like, look, you just need to, like, chill, right? Like, Daybreak's got this. They're gonna make another Everquest game, and it's gonna be amazing, because I loved Everquest. I never played Everquest 2, but I loved Everquest so much. And of course, now, everyone on the internet is like, maybe it was vaporware. Now, before we go any further into this just terrible rabbit hole, and don't worry, I'm not gonna spend very much time on it, but vaporware is the idea of a company saying, this is a really, really cool thing that we're gonna make, in order to make themselves look really good to potential investors and potential buyers. So a lot of people are saying, oh, well, Everquest Next might have just been a thing that they never really intended to follow through on because they had so many lofty goals with it, right? So maybe they never really expected to finish it, which I have a very hard time believing. I think, I would say that they were more misguided in what they could accomplish. I don't think that it was malicious, I'll be totally honest. Like, they would continue to put out different little videos of, like, proof of concepts and ideas. I think they really did expect the Everquest name to carry Landmark further than it did. I think they really wanted Landmark to just shoot, right? For people to just be so excited about Landmark, but there wasn't enough to do in it. Nobody was really utilizing it in the ways that they expected them to. So then suddenly they were like, oh, well, people aren't wanting to buy into Landmark. People aren't wanting to, like, help us make the game, right? Which was the whole pitch. It was like, you can play basically Minecraft, but within our engine, and it'll be put in the game, and you could potentially sell things and make money. And, like, they had, like, huge goals for Landmark, huge goals for Next. And the fact that it's not happening, it makes me sad, but it doesn't surprise me necessarily. I just think that they thought that they could be the front runner in the next generation of MMOs and realized that they did not know how to make it, right? They reached this point where they were like, we don't know how to make it. And they've even said, like, one of the major reasons that we decided not to do it anymore is because it wasn't fun. Like, no matter what we did, nobody was really having fun, like, playing it. Like, any iteration of the game just didn't feel right. So, I don't know. It makes me sad that a lot of people are looking at this situation and saying, oh, well, they definitely just, they pulled the wool over our eyes, essentially, right? Like, they never planned on making this game. This was always vaporware. They were just trying to get sold. They just wanted to sell a bunch of Landmark copies and then pull out. I don't want to believe that, because I know that they still plan on making Everquest titles, right? Like, they haven't abandoned that. They've even said that they would like to keep working on Landmark and figure that out and maybe revisit the whole idea in general much later. But yeah, as an old Everquest person, as an old Everquest fan, I'm just like, oh no, it all fell apart. Just like everybody said it would. It makes me so sad. So yeah, Daybreak, I'm sorry that that's happening. I'm sorry that everybody's, you know, being poops. But if you were the poop, look, if you were the poop, and I'm defending you right now, then you're gonna be in trouble. And as a final bit of news, something a bit lighter, right? Decided to round us off in a much cheerier way. Overwatch has a release date. Not only that, it also has an open beta date. Overwatch is going to be coming out May 24th, and on May 5th, the open beta is going to be out in the world for everyone to experience. The funny thing, though, is that there's like 2 open beta dates. If you pre-ordered the game, then your open beta starts on the 3rd, I believe. So technically, it's not an open beta on the 3rd, but they're calling it an open beta on the 3rd. It's just, you know. So if you pre-ordered the game, you'll be able to get into the beta. I'm just gonna say, you'll be able to get into the beta on the 3rd, and the open beta officially starts on the 5th for everyone to experience for a couple of days before the actual release. I know that they also put out some new skins, which is pretty cool. I'm just waiting for that junk butt skin. Oh my gosh. When they released some new legendary skins, I was like, this is it. I know it. They definitely had to have, like, focused on the characters who don't have legendary skins yet, right? Like Junkrat's definitely gonna have a legendary skin, right? And I went and looked, and he doesn't. He doesn't. Although Soldier 76 one, fantastic. But yeah, I just want a bit more Junkrat love. If you guys could make that happen, Blizzard, I don't know. If you could, you know, just... Look, I already came up with the best idea for his legendary skin, and I don't know why it hasn't happened yet, but he needs to be a pirate, and his grenade gun needs to be a cannon. Look, I already did all the work. Just make it happen.
What about
visually.
the mine?
What?
What about the mine?
The mine?
The mine he throws.
Oh.
What about the trap on the ground? You haven't thought this through.
Okay, look. I didn't do all the work, alright? I haven't figured everything out. But I did a majority. I did a majority, and now y'all's can be the creative force making it happen. Anywho, that's been my show. Thank you so much for watching. If you have a positive or a negative response, feel free to leave it in my comment section. And if you would like to have coffee with me on Saturday morning Dooger, you can do so on twitch.tv/dexteritybonus. On Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. we hang out for like an hour, and then we play a game for an hour or two. And it's super, super fun, and I would love to have you there. But otherwise, I hope you have a great week and a great rest of your day, and we'll see you again next weekend. Won't we, Watson? Huh. You get it.